greater. And this way, bring unity to our community, unity in our lives, and allow each of us to prosper. Thank you very much.
Good afternoon. I'm Alderman Deborah Silverstein, the 50th Ward. Hate has struck our community very hard this week. Synagogues, schools, Jewish-owned businesses were victims of anti-Semitic graffiti and cowardly vandalism. The police acted quickly and arrested the offender, but now more incidences are happening. I am joined here by Chicago Police Superintendent David Brown, Cook County State's Attorney Kim Fox, as well as all of these people standing behind me to say very clearly and loudly that this will not stand. Hate has no place in this neighborhood, and bigotry will not be tolerated. I have always prided myself on representing the most diverse neighborhood in the city of Chicago. Our diversity is our strength, but we can only stand strong when everyone feels safe. Safe to practice their religion, safe to pray in synagogues, shop in kosher stores, attend Jewish schools, safe to live their lives. Our diversity is our strength, but that means an attack on any of us is an attack on all of us. An attack on the Jewish community is an attack on the entire 50th Ward and on the entire city of Chicago. These incidences come mere days after Holocaust Remembrance Day, and as anti-Semitism is on the rise across the country, I want to assure everyone in the Jewish community that you are not alone. I am with you, the mayor is with you, the police are with you. Millions of people across the city stand in solidarity with you. The police will be putting heightened attention on all places of worship and religious institutions. We will not allow hate and anti-Semitism to spread. We will do whatever is necessary to keep our Jewish community safe. I'd now like to call upon Superintendent David Brown.
Good afternoon, everyone. Just a few comments, and then I'll turn it over to Cook County State's Attorney Kim Fox. First of all, I want to also start by thanking Rabbi Hertz for his invitation to utilize this facility for our press conference, as well as members of the community and Commander Brennan. Special note to Commander Brennan, he's the commander of the 24th District. We are here to announce felony hate crime charges in the targeting and vandalism of several synagogues and schools on Sunday. Shahid Hussein has been charged with 4 counts. Let me go ahead and give a spelling of Shahid Hussein's name, S-H-A-H-I-D, like David, Hussein, common spelling, H-U-S-S-A-I-N, has been charged with 4 counts of felony hate crimes, 2 felony counts of defacement, and 2 felony counts of criminal damage in connection to these 4 incidents. 2 felony counts of hate crime involving a church or synagogue, 2 felony counts of hate crime involving a school, 2 felony counts of defacement of property involving a school, 2 felony counts of criminal damage involving a school. These acts of hate gripped the West Rogers Park community and shocked the city of Chicago. In fact, just this morning, a member of the congregation was threatened by several individuals right outside these doors that we have an open investigation on. Thankfully, he's all right, and the Chicago Police Department is obviously investigating. Department-wide, as mentioned by the Alderwoman, our faith-based liaison officers in the Chicago Police Department have been engaged with communities across the city. Here in the 24th District, faith-based liaisons, known as our Place of Worship Safety Advisory Team, continues to work to address safety concerns and advise on security measures. But of all these incidents are stark reminders we have been unrelenting in making our communities safer. We can never, ever downplay hate. We can't give it any room to hide. And we cannot tolerate, and we will not tolerate hate. As was mentioned just days ago on January 27, we marked International Holocaust Day of Remembrance, where we commemorated the liberation of Auschwitz concentration camp. We remember the horrors of the Holocaust so that we may never repeat them. And we hold on to these memories of those lost and the hope of those who survive, because we must. Here, together, right now, we are that hope. That's why I believe this demonstration of unity here today behind me and beside me is necessary. It's timely, and obviously it's poignant. The Chicago Police Department will always work side by side with every community to stop crime and stop hate. Chicagoans have a history of coming together in moments just like these to let people know we will stand together and speak out against hate. I'm going to go through a little bit of a tick-tock of the events that caused the felony hate crime charges. On Sunday afternoon at approximately 4:39 p.m., officers responded to a call for a man spraying paint yellow swastikas in the alley. At approximately 4:40, at the synagogue on the 2900 block of West Devon, a yellow swastika was discovered. At approximately the same time, a yellow swastika was also discovered at Hannah Sachs by Yakov High School in the 3000 block of West Devon. Later that night, on that same day, at approximately 6:15 p.m., in the 24th District, officers responded to a 911 call of a suspicious person in the 6300 block of North Sacramento. The 911 caller, stated there was a subject yelling anti-Semitic slurs and threats. Officers located the individual and detained him. During the course of the investigation, detectives determined the subject matched the description of the offender responsible for the criminal damage to property. The investigation also determined this particular individual that was in custody, was responsible for criminal damage of property in the incident involving a synagogue in the 2800 block of West North Shore in the overnight hours between Saturday and Sunday. Investigators also linked this individual to criminal damage of property to the Jewish school in the 3600 block of West Devon Avenue. Private video of these incidents is being recovered and reviewed for further evidence as this case is adjudicated through the court systems. I just want to give special thanks as I turn the podium over to Cook County State's Attorney Kim Fox. Thank the CPD detectives, obviously the responding officers, to State's Attorney Kim Fox, to the assistant state's attorneys who worked tirelessly with our detectives in bringing this case forward to this point of charges, as well as Alderwoman Deborah Silverstein. Thank you so much, Alderwoman, and the community at large. And I've also already given thanks to the rabbi. Thank you all so much for partnering with us. This is how we maintain our safety and feel confident that we can do this together, not just as a police department, but with all of our stakeholders and partners in law enforcement and partners in the community working together. Now I'll turn it over to Cook County State's Attorney Kim Fox. Kim.
Thank you, Superintendent. Thank you, Rabbi, for hosting us, and it is unfortunate that it is under these circumstances. Thank you, Alderman, for welcoming us into the ward. As the superintendent has indicated, the Cook County State's Attorney's Office has approved felony hate crime charges as well as criminal damage to property charges. The accused, the defendant at this point, is before bond court as we speak. I had hoped to have some information to you by now, but it is happening live. You probably know more than I do. I can tell you, if you can tell me, not yet. It's happening now. What I can tell you is that the defendant has been on parole for a 2017 forgery case, as well as a 2017 burglary case out of DuPage County. This matter will be handled by our hate crime specialist within the Cook County State's Attorney's Office, ensuring that we have the most expertise on dealing with hate crimes available. As the superintendent has said, this was a collaborative effort. We're grateful for the hard work and dedication by the Chicago Police Department and their detectives who work side by side with the Cook County Assistant State's Attorneys, as well as to members of the community. As he already indicated, it's hard to follow when you have all the good points. We don't do this work alone in law enforcement. The best work that we do is in collaboration with community. And what I have learned in my short time here in watching the girls go about their day here at school, undeterred by these acts, it is the coming together and the resiliency of this community that demonstrates what is in fact possible. I want to reiterate that those who engage in hate will be held accountable. Those who seek to do harm, to destabilize communities will be held accountable. And that accountability doesn't start just here in the community, but in the courtroom, and it will be done because of the work of the collaborative effort of the community, our elected officials, as well as law enforcement. As soon as I have that additional information, probably while you're asking questions of the superintendent, I will make that available to you, but the bond hearing is happening as we speak. Thank you.
So we'll take a few on-topic only questions, please.
Superintendent, question for you. You did not mention the vandalism to Tel Aviv Bakery as being one of the crimes that this suspect is being linked to. Is he or not yet?
Not yet. So this is a continuing investigation. As I mentioned at the very end, we're continuing to collect video to be able to connect more cases to this suspect and or others.
And if I may ask you about what happened this morning, and maybe the question is more appropriate for Rabbi Hertz, about who was involved from the congregation and what exactly happened.
So right now it's an open investigation. We try just to follow the facts and not make any conjecture about where this case might end up. And I'll turn over the rest of the comments to the rabbi if he'd like to answer.
Just if you can walk us through what happened, who it was.
So actually, let me help him out. So again, we don't want to jeopardize this case by trying it in the public before we determine and establish facts that would be needed to bring charges. So let's hold right here, and we'll come back to you when we have more confirmed information, hopefully charges.
But we do know that a window of one of the vehicles of somebody here was shattered.
Yes, as I mentioned. So I just don't want to go beyond the comments I've already made.
Can you speak to just how disappointing it is that you have this suspect in custody who you think is responsible for multiple incidents, and then you have this other incident happen today, which, and it appears to be obviously separate individuals, that this wasn't just one isolated individual responsible for all of this?
So without going any further, because of the reasons I've stated before, we did have some internal debate about whether we'd hold a press conference. I actually called Alderwoman Silverstein about this internal debate we were having within CPD, and she hit the nail on the head. It's where I am, and I think it's where all of we always have to shine a light on hate. And we should never give any room for any of us to hide from what hateful people do. It is the lesson learned through history that when hate is left unchecked, left to prosper, and fear sets in to those victimized by hate, hate flourishes. Where you can actually put hate in its rightful place is all of us standing here shining a bright, bright light on hateful acts. So as soon as we're able to establish this second thing, because it can go in a lot of different directions, we'll come right out and talk in the same ways about that, hopefully with charges being brought on individuals.
And if we may ask, and this question may be best for the state's attorney, I understand that charging a hate crime is more complex. Can you talk about that and what standards need to be met?
Certainly, it's a great question. So in order for us to charge a hate crime, we have to be able to establish that the motivation for the act was hate, was because of someone's religious affiliation, their race, their sexual identification. So something that, the breaking of a window would ordinarily be what we would call a vandalism case, criminal damage to property. If that vandalism was inspired by or done because of that person's racial affiliation, and we are able to link that, that's what elevates it to a hate crime. And so it takes it from what, may have been a misdemeanor case to a felony and an enhanced felony because of that. Oftentimes, hate crimes are difficult to prove. in instances like this where we recognize the trend where we're seeing that these are religious institutions or establishments where the Jewish community frequents, and the symbolism that was used. As was indicated before, we're days out of Holocaust remembrance. The fact of the matter that a swastika was used gives us a firm footing that whomever was responsible for these acts knew the intention of using that symbol on these institutions, knew what it was meant to elicit. We can also, in building a case, again, working with our partners in law enforcement around the timing of these incidents, around building the case of we were just a few days out from Holocaust remembrance. This was a symbol that was used during the Holocaust. These were the buildings that were targeted. And so those are the things that make it able for us to elevate this from a simple criminal damage to property or simple felony to a hate crime, to be able to establish the motivation for it. I'm sorry, I think I have more information. I do. Thank you. Bond was set at $250,000 with special conditions. I'm assuming that the special conditions that he is not to be anywhere near any of these institutions or any of those who have been impacted by that. The next court date is February 7th.
Could someone perhaps from the,
I just want to for the question. I was mentioned about this case this morning. What I do want to mention is that I think a special thank you to the police department on the quick response. And we have a wonderful police department here in Chicago, and the seriousness of taking the police department, our alderman, and I think a thank you is deserving. I was able to witness firsthand what a beautiful community we have here.
well, and Rabbi, while you're there, the judge called this a textbook case of hate, and said, although there wasn't necessarily physical violence, which sometimes people associate with being the worst types of crimes, there was psychological violence, if you will, instilling fear in an entire community. Can you speak to how these attacks and hearing about them and personally experiencing it felt?
It's obviously nobody wants to experience it. We have children. I have grandchildren in this community. Nobody wants to experience it. But unfortunately, we have to deal sometimes with good and sometimes with evil. So it doesn't deter us. It doesn't. We know we have to address it, and address it very seriously, and take it serious. But at the same time, our community is not deterred in any way. We are strong. We are continuing. We are vibrant, and this is not really as much. And we know we're in good hands. We know we have good protection here, and we continue to have good protection. We have a lot of assurance from all the people who are here to protect us, and we are very strong and forward with these things. But the issue has to be addressed, because we can't allow even emotional hate. Any form of hate is hate, which can lead to the worst things, as we have experienced. Jewish people, as well as everyone, anybody who's experienced hate throughout history, that is something that we cannot tolerate it, even the small iota.
Just one follow-up, if I could. State's attorney, he has a fairly lengthy criminal history. He was on parole at the time for a forgery case, it appears.
That's right.
So he's, I think, going into custody right away. But can you just speak to, is reform needed? I mean, he had committed quite a bit of previous crimes, and then this happened.
Again, he was out on a 2017 forgery case. I don't have the specifics of that. Again, in 2017, it's 2022. I don't know how long his parole was for. As I said last week, I think we have to be mindful that people who come into our criminal justice system eventually make their way out. And so we have to ensure that whether it's 4 years, 5 years, or 10 years, that while we're simultaneously addressing violence and the acts that brought them into our system, that we have the supports when they come out so that they do not reoffend. But again, it's early, and I'll have more information as the days and weeks become available.
It's stalking, burglary.
The parole, correct.
The parole was just forgery, but he's done
Yes,
that
ma'am.
in many other.
Yes, and so we'll know more about this individual and his history, whether, again, criminal or psychological, in the coming days. But again, we have to have a criminal justice system that recognizes we must be responsive and hold people accountable, but also for those who have come into our system, that they have the resources, because we don't want people to reoffend. that is one of the biggest indictments on our system, is the fact that we have people coming in and out of the system because they're not going to be there forever. How do we ensure that they have the supports so that the people in this community can feel safe regardless?
Superintendent, can you say anything about the ideology of this individual, or what his motivation was? Were your investigators able to get him to speak to that at all? What, pushed him to carry out?
There are additional types of things we are continuing to learn about this particular individual. Some we don't want to share at this point for obvious reasons, as mentioned before. But as we're further along with this case, we'll be glad to share those at that point. But we're just not ready to share his mental state, motivations, et cetera, at this early stage of charging. Thank you. Appreciate it.
Thanks, everyone. One unrelated question about the incident at 79th and Dobson and what we know about it.
We want to stay on topic. I think this topic of hate in this community is enough for today. So we can talk to you offline. I just don't want to distract from the focus on this topic, shining a light on hate, and this body coming together to stand up to it. And that's enough for today. Thank you very much. I really appreciate it. Thank you all very much.
Thank you, Superintendent. Thank you very much.
No, that's okay. It's funny. Then it's like,
Okay. Thank you. That's all. Of course. We'll keep you posted.
Yes.
We'll make sure that we have our.
From the community, relay for his
Thank you.